Thank all of you for attending. I'd like to take the next 30 or 40 minutes and cover a topic that is probably a lot of people are talking about in meetings and getting ready for, and that's every 2 years, just about when IBM announces and releases a new level of the operating system. It means projects. It means something we need to do and get ready for and schedule. Maybe not this year, but maybe it's midsummer next year or even the following year. But at some point in time, we all will go up to 3.2 or later. And so what I want to talk about is the capabilities that we have here at New Era Software to give you tools to make that transition from wherever you are now in terms of release level to the 3.2 level. So we need to think about this as a process and a project that needs to be accomplished and a set of capabilities and tools that will make this a little bit easier. And that's what I want to talk about and show you here today. See if I can get this to work properly. So what we've done here at New Era is put out a new level of the software. It's called Image Focus Release 19. Actually, it's ICE 19 is what the original, the complete title is, because all of our applications that run inside the integrity controls environment, including Image Focus is one of those products, is now up to the 19 level and 3.2 supporting. So all of the capabilities we have are now available for 3.2 release. Um, it's there because several reasons. One is when we started New Arrows over 30 years ago, we made a commitment that we would always meet same-day support for the release list levels from IBM, and we've met that across all 30 years. Every release of the operating system during those 30 years, on the same day it's been made available by IBM, we've had support for it in our products. We're kind of proud of that, and that's the commitment and promise we've made to our customers and have always kept it. But along with the support for 3.2, we've introduced some more new capabilities. And I'm going to touch on those because I see a great number of you out there listening to me are customers. Customers of Image Focus or the control editor or even our first product, the product called Standalone Environment, SAE. So I want to talk about some of those enhancements, but if you are customers and you would like to have a full presentation or discussion about the new enhancements for Release 19, let us know and we'll be glad to set up a private briefing for you to show you exactly what's new and updates we've made. I'll point a couple of them out as we go through this as part of the story I'm about to tell you here. But keep in mind, Release 19 is available to you. If you are customers, you should have got an email from us saying that the download links are there and go get them, and that will provide the ability that I'm going to show you about getting ready for 3.2. Now, we do these kind of presentations talking about getting ready for the next release just about every 2 years, staying current again with the operating systems. And the story sometimes doesn't change every 2 years because some of this is getting prepared, anticipating the need to upgrade and convert from where you are to the new release. And there's a certain amount of things that we should be doing to prepare for that. And we're going to talk about that first. And so Image Focus is the product in the integrity controls environment that can really help you the most in this level, which is getting prepared and understanding what actions you need to take that you can take now before you attempt and start the upgrade. And of course, planning for the upgrade and then executing the upgrade. So all of those things are part of what Image Focus can help you save time and obviously money and concerns and maybe some lost sleep as well. So getting ready for the next release, one of the first questions is what have we at New Era been doing? And it's kind of obvious, we're ready. We've been working with IBM. We've been involved with ESP sites. We've been testing and understanding what we needed to do to improve and extend our capabilities to be ready for 3.2. But what we want to talk about more is what can you do and how can we help you do those things? And that's really what Image Focus is going to talk about now. So we've had ongoing support. We've had same day delivery, as I said, but also something that Sammy mentioned is something called Z-Minds. Z-Minds is a blog center, if you want to think of it that way, that we support and make available to the industry that has industry experts come and speak about topics. They're all available, they're recorded. These are people that know well about 3.2, like Marno Wally. and others from IBM that have shared their knowledge. We've got a current uh, series of webcasts going on right now with another IBMer, Steve Warren, I think is his name. These are all very beneficial to you. They're great knowledge bases and they are available to you from all the experts. It's not just new era pitches. It's everything in the industry. And we invite other people out there as well. Now, what we've done is obviously upgraded our product in all our panels and everything that we provide inside Image Focus. We've changed everything to include 3.2. And those of you who are customers might be familiar with this screen. It's a screen that in part of what we call the new release analysis. And this gives you the ability to simulate the change of operating system levels. If you think about it, what we're doing with Image Focus is running an inspection of a structure, an IPL structure. And in order to make sure that that structure is complete and correct and give you the capabilities you expect and the integrity you demand, we have a model of rules-based integrity capabilities or monitoring capabilities that go off and test the definitions in that structure. There's one for every release level of the operating system, and there's a new one now for 3.2. So as we have a new model for 3.2 with its own rules, and it knows what to look for, and it knows the syntax, and it knows the requirements. And what we're doing on these panels that I'll actually show you a live example later is just go off and test that figure configuration and see whether or not it's complete and correct and will do everything it's supposed to do. So this is all part of what we're seeing. You'll see throughout all of our panels in the product reference to the 3.2 that tells you it's there and ready and we can go to it now. What you can do is review your configuration, understand what's there, understand the critical elements that need to be brought forward from your 2.5 or your 3.1 environment to 3.2. Make sure they're as clean and correct as possible. Get all the risk out of it. Get all the, if you will, the legacy things that are no longer needed. Clean those up. Minimize the effort to move from where you are to 3.2. And then use those as a checklist to execute the different steps that you need to do. And Image Focus can help you do that. I sometimes think of this as reminding people when they move their house or their home, it's, do I need to take that old couch? Do I need to take all the clothes hanging in the back of the closet that I haven't worn for 5 years? These are things that we're talking about here, looking at your environment and knowing whether or not all of that's necessary to move forward, or is there something we can do to minimize that and clean it up? So we've added to the capabilities of the ICE environment at release 19 to several places within our products. We've infused it, if you want to think of it that way, with kind of an AI concept, this idea of models and rules and processing and triggering add-on services, triggering add-on inquiries, gathering more information. All of that now has been automated and added to the structures of our products inside the integrity controls environment. One of the things in particular is in the area of IPLCheck, and I'll talk about that as we go further here into this presentation. I'm going to switch over now and see if I can get to my system and do a brief presentation or a demonstration. See if I can get here. Okay, so what you're seeing now is an example of our product that has been set up inside a VTAM application to run that process of evaluating the operational integrity and readiness of the LPARs that are out there active right now. We call that evaluation and inspection. The inspection runs at various levels. It can run at a sysplex level, as you can see here, where we would actually inspect 5 individual LPARs in the plex and evaluate each one of those independently. We can lower our entry point down to just a single LPAR and evaluate that. We can lower it further, get down to a certain subsystem or even to a certain PermLive data set and analyze that structure and figure out, is there anything wrong or incomplete or a problem with that? So what we've done is set up this inspection so that it will, by default, for the running systems, be detectable, so it'll automatically detect them all and build this request list, but it allows you the flexibility of defining your own structure. So if you have, let's say, two res volumes that you alternate between your IPL cycles, we can look at both and we can monitor both. We can tell you the status of both. We can compare them together. We can store history on both. So image focus is quite the complete analytical tool, understanding the different IPL structures you have and interpreting whether or not they're all viable and are they all at the level we expect. And that's important because there are things that we have to deal with on a daily basis where changes are being made and things kind of creep in, or sometimes people think of it as drift, where we built this system 6 months ago, and is it still the same, or what modifications have come in? And so this is what we're looking at here in terms of image focus. But a byproduct of that, if we come down and look at an individual LPAR, I'm just going to work with this guy. So I'm now selecting this particular LPAR, and now I want to do is look at the results of one of those inspection runs that was against it. So I can run the inspection at any point in time that I want. It's an independent process at this point because I'm using the VTEM application interface. But the inspection can also be set up to run automatically through a monitoring capability that we provide with the product that would run an inspection against your target list once a day, 3 times a day, once a week, whatever kind of pattern you want to set up. That adds the benefit of also tracking for changes because it creates history points each time it runs the inspection and a change to any of the elements is detected. So what it becomes is not only an integrity monitor, but a change detector against that structure and tells you whether or not something's been changed. And obviously there's notification capabilities and query facilities and all those other things that you might think of that you'd want to use against that history that's being created. But each one of those inspections, and again, they can run in a variety of places here through interactive through a VTAM application as part of the monitor. They can also be run in batch mode and executed on some independent cycle by your scheduling system or on request. It can also run inside the health checker for ZOS from IBM as a check. And I'll show you briefly what that looks like in just a moment. And we've added quite a bit more capability to that as well. And I'll touch on that at the very end because it does affect, again, some of you or most of you that are customers out there. But back to what does this tell us? So this inspection ran, and it's going to tell us, first of all, everything it found. It's going to create out for us a very detailed log, if you will, the inventory, the status, the relationships, and fully document each individual LPAR structure that you've pointed it to. Running, non-running, doesn't care what release level, doesn't care anything about it. It simply goes off and says, give me an IPL address and load parm, and it will do everything else all by itself. It will issue display commands. It will look at those results. It will go to the next step. It will do filter substitution. It will do all of that in order to completely understand, evaluate, and document the structure of the IPL that you pointed us to. So what this does as you plan to move up to 3.2 is it builds a base document, if you will, a profile of what this system, how it's configured, and what its definitions are. In fact, it can create a copy of this into a data set so that going forward, you have a point to come back and compare to and understand when changes are made, what exactly was changed in that member at that point in time. In addition to that, as it's creating this knowledge, it's actually evaluating it. So it's went out and said, all right, I ran my inspection and I can find all the components and I got a good results. But these are the things that I want to tell you about. We issue alerts at 3 different levels, notices, warnings, and errors, but what it's really telling you in regard to the upgrade process from let's say 2.5 that I'm on to 3.2, it's going to point out things I should be worrying about now in my 2.5 system before I accept the challenge of upgrading to 3.2. So just a couple quick examples. It shows me a particular ParmLab member in the structure of prog member AB. and it looks at the full content. Again, it documents this. It tells me full inventory. But what it's telling me is that there's a data set referenced in this member that doesn't exist. So this would be something that I certainly don't want to move forward. Why would I? Okay, I want to clean this up and get it out. But it also does other things for you, things that are not, maybe not quite as off as obvious. In this case, we're looking at a different prog member, and what it's done is gone off and it told me that if you look at the top line, that I have some duplicates within the search structure. The last line on this screen says checking for duplicates. It checks them and it tells me that where my duplicates are in the top lines of this screen. It also shows me all the other libraries and linked lists that have secondary allocations. Now, you may not want that in your environment for whatever reason. So you want to be able to adjust and again, this is part of that clean up and clean out so that you don't take things forward in the state that you don't want them in. And this gives the idea of image focus now giving you that list of things that you need to be concerned with, things that you need to deal with going forward. And you can see we do the same thing for the subsystems. So you just look down the list on the left. In the index, we've done JES, we've done VTAM, we've done servauth, and the TCP/IP components, and you can just go on and on. The policy agent or pageant is included in here, but it gives me the ability to look at all of these different definitions and decide whether or not they're as correct and as pristine as possible going forward. Now we've added some new capabilities here, and I've gone back because I forgot to mention it. But for example, there's been some enhancements in the some of the reports we've put out. So one of the things that we want to do is to look at the find a proper report here. We do summarization in the log of the different items. So we can see member by member, it gives me the content and evaluates it. But I also want consolidated list of APF and linked lists. All of those things are consolidated together into a single report. We don't have time to do a full demonstration for this, but I did want to point this out. This is an enhancement you'll see in release 19, where it's looking at all the keywords in IESIS and it's telling, documents them all, presents them all to you, shows you what you've defined in for that member or for that keyword in that member. But if you take the defaults, it now reports on actually what the default value is being used. So you really get a clear picture of how this system is configured and defined. And this gives you the knowledge you need to do something going forward. And there's just all kinds of data and reports in these. And again, if some of you aren't familiar with this and you want to learn more about this, contact us and we'll be glad to give you the whole picture here. But what we want to be able to do is make sure you understand where you are and what the problems you may be facing. We do this at various levels. So another way that we can do this is to come back and look at this same system. Let's go back to B and get the log back. Because one of the things that I turned on in this particular inspection request is an optional component that digs a little bit more deeply into the IPL structure. And what it's doing now in this, for this example, we've turned on something we refer to as the supplemental inspector. And what it's doing is now looking at a list, an inventory of load libraries that exist, and you want it to analyze and monitor them in the same way. So what we want to do is say, all right, go ahead and look at the different list of data sets I provide. Some are automatically provided, APF, LPA linked list that automatically will pick up, but you can add your own inventory. They could be your vendor software load libraries or anything else you want to define. In this case, you can see we're looking at everything in the APF list, and it's looking for duplicates in the concatenation. So somebody's got more than one data set named in our library named in the APF list. And then we look at LPA, there's 3 in here. So this is also being monitored for change. So if something comes in, we get a chance to deal with it. This also looks for orphaned aliases. And this is always interesting in that here we have a bunch of load libraries that have orphaned aliases. And you can see, it'll tell you more about it. You can get more detail on it. But the idea is this is part of that understanding. What do I have? What's defined? What items are redundant? Which ones are no longer needed? Which ones should be straightened out or removed or whatever you need to do before you begin to migrate forward and do the new release. So what does that new release look like? I'm going to switch systems here and go over and show you what this looks like. So I've got a similar panel to what I had up before where I've got all my LPARs and the sysplex defined, but you'll notice there's a new panel or new area on this panel that talks about the release level. So all of these are 2.5 systems. And if I go look at the 2.5 system, I'll see that it reports the same as we just saw, that where the problems are and what the issues are. But if I come down and now want to use the capability within new release, I would work with this again, and it'd be similar to the panel we saw before or the slide I showed you. Hopefully this is still connected. Things are going a little slow. But what this is going to do is to look at this configuration and go out and tell me whether or not uh, it has any new problems, and I have the ability to adjust the release levels. It looks like maybe I'm been logged off. Let me try to reconnect here. I apologize for this, but I'm on a dial-up and sometimes I get dropped. Why aren't I connecting? Okay, so what I've done now is log back on the VTAMP. No, it's not letting me on. So this other one's probably still active, but it's not moving. Pat, are you out there? Can you look into this and see what's going on? Is there something going on in the E system?
Yeah, I'm looking into it right now. Give me 1 second.
In the meantime, I'll switch over and try to use a different ID. Okay, so I'm on with a different ID now. And the way we get there is through that VTAM application again, but you can run this in batch as well. And I'm going to go off and ask to go into an application called New Release Analysis. And if I come now and look at image 5 in this case, I want to work with that as an individual one. I could do the entire sysplex if I choose to. But I can select this and say, all right, I want to run this, but I want to run this at the 205 level because that's what it is. And it will go off and run an inspection and bring me back the results similar to what we saw, actually exactly what we saw before, except I've turned off the subsystems, I believe. And what this is going to do is evaluate this using the 2.5 model and rules that exist for it. But what I want to do then is add some planned changes to this and get the inspection done as well. And so what this has done now, or should be doing, this gives me the exact same report, and you can see I've got the same set of notices out there for those prog members. But now perhaps I've done a little research and I found out there's a new keyword that I want to put in. So what I want to do is add that into a staging data set. So this capability exists in all the inspection methods except for IPLCheck, but where you can actually specify an alternate Parmlive data set that you'd like it to insert in the concatenation. So I'm now telling it to take this staged data set and make that the first one in the order. So any member I have in here will be the prevailing member for the inspection. Now, I have a different BPX-PRM member in here, as well as a couple other ones, that will create more alerts because I'm now using new statements that are only supposed to be used at 3.2 or greater. But I've still asked it to use the 2.5 set of rules. So it should flag these. It should tell me that, hey, these things aren't right. And it's part of the testing that you want to be able to do is to test the statements. But this is also a demonstration a little bit about the AI part of this. So now you can see that it's complaining about more than before. And if I select this BPX-PRM member, you can see that, again, it shows me the content and it's evaluated it all. But I can go ahead now and come to the bottom and see what it's complaining about. And you can see that it says there's a statement in here called Rex parse that it's warning me about. It's issue a warning. And it says that that statement is required for 3.2. Well, if the model was built for 2.5 2 years or 4 years ago now, how does it know that that's a valid keyword for 3.2? We're running on a 3.2 system, and we've added and extended the capabilities of this process to interpret not only is it correct at the 2.5 level, but if it's incorrect, does it have a future? Is there something else that somewhere else that it might be viable? And so it goes off and finds that out. So now if I come back to my definitions, and I say at the bottom of the panel, I change this to 302 and leave my stage changes there, it will come back and accept that ParmLab statement. It won't issue a warning. It won't complain about it because it is viable within the 3.2 model and set of rules. So this is what we're talking about here when we're talking about also extending that functionality with additional logic and processing that is kind of AI in design that says, if you see this, go check that. And if that's happy, tell me about it. If it has a problem, continue on and do more. And so that's what we've built in here. So now we've got the OPSIS again, and you can see the BPX-PRM00 member is gone from the list. And if I go down and find it here and select it, well, we can find that Rex statement in here, but it doesn't complain about it because it's perfectly viable and correct. So what this means is that as you begin to make your improvements and changes to the elements within the configuration, getting ready for 3.2, you have a very accurate way of interpreting and testing those improvements to make sure that they're proper and correct at the 3.2 level. And should they slide back into the ParmLab for 2.5 or 3.1 and they're not viable there, it's going to point that out to you. So this whole idea is to give you a tool that understands each release level of the operating system and give you the ability to evaluate it, test it, and use it. Now, the other thing that we do is we understand you don't always want to deal at the level of a full sysplex or a full image even. So we have what we call a component inspector. A component inspector very simply is a list of components that you could think of logically but get put together in order to find a particular image. So what we would do is be able to lower our inspection entry point down to that component. We can look at a particular ParmLab data set and member. We can look at JES. We can look at TCP/IP components. We can look at OMP route. We can look at Pageant. We can look at load libraries. All of these are different entry points. So if I put up here ParmLab and hit enter, it will now give me the list of the active ParmLab data sets that I have out here. And I can call this test. And I can simply say, go get the inventory for me. So again, it's now issued appropriate commands to display the content of all the ParmLab data sets in the concatenation. And I have the full list of them here. But this list can also be modified. So if I come down here and see if I remember. Oh, sorry. If I wanted to add a data set here, I could do it here. Oh, I got to get rid of that, I guess. But the idea is I can define my concatenations here. I can move them, I can reorder them. Once I define it, it will track that for me. So now when if I say, give me the inventory, I will find that data set in the list along with my BPX PRM00 member here. And it says, hey, it's a duplicate because I'm picking it out of the fourth, actually the fifth data set in the concatenation. And I can select that. And this is the item I want to test. So it's automatically filled this out. Here again, I have the ability to change the release level. So I can run this at the 302. And I want to turn on full member display and say, go inspect that. It will inspect only that member. From this panel, I can launch edit, I can re-inspect, I can copy in edit, I can replace, I can do all those things. But the idea is you're not forced to stay at the image level or the sysplex level. You're actually able to look at component by component. So if you have part of your organization, individuals who are working with the network, VTEM, TCP/IP components, they can take advantage of this and use the component inspector to only look at those elements that they need to deal with. And they again have the ability to change the release levels and ask it to tell me what if. What if I try to use this structure at the new level? What results will I get? Will everything be right or wrong? Am I missing some requirements? Are keywords now obsolete? All of those things are done. So that's the other part of image focus. So what image focus does, just to kind of back up a little bit, it builds for you a profile of what you have, documents it thoroughly and completely, tells you about if there's anything in that that you should review and think about doing something to correct or not move forward, might be a better way to put it. Then there's this piece that says, all right, you're ready to go forward. You're making modifications and changes. As you make those modifications and changes, you need to test them. You can test each individual change you make to each individual component. So every time you change a Parmlab member, you can test it and you can confirm that that change was done. And then you make the next change or however you want to do that. And then you can put all the changes together and at the end of some cycle and confirm that they all are correct and they're ready to go for 3.2 and you package them up and you push them forward and go ahead and do that. So image focus has that capability to do it, and it can do it again interactively. It can do it in batch. It can do it with its monitor and give you all that capability and functionality. Now, the other thing that we've done is made some changes in release 19 that deal with the ability to run this inside the health checker. So let's see if this is still running here. Doesn't look like it. So we have the ability and have had the ability for a long time to create checks that run inside the health checker for ZOS. So again, let me see if I can just start a new session here and get it done.
You can use GBACs too now, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is come in and look at the health checker network allowing it so, and look at some checks that exist that we've created here at New Era Software, which basically extend the functionality that we just talked about. All of them start with the characters of NEZ or NEZ, and you can see there's quite a few of them, a nice long extensive list of this. The primary one that you want to be concerned with is one we've referred to in the past as IPLCheck. An IPLCheck looks at the operating system for the running system where this check is running, reevaluates it, tells him whether or not there's an issue within that structure, and reports it back into a log and tells me about it. In order to do things like the dynamic check, required a little bit more to be licensed and coded, which is the full image focus. And there's a very simple analytics. Here's a log, 15,000 lines long. there's some warning messages. Good luck, go find them. What we wanted to do is improve that. So we've changed up our thinking on this. We're still running the checks. We're adding more value to them by combining some checks. So the operating system and the dynamic now are now combined. And they create out a log that's now has a bunch of services and capabilities added to it. And we'll see if this will give me what I want. Because now I switched over and I haven't had a chance to configure this system the way I want it, but we'll see what happens. So we've taken IPLCheck and we've sunsetted it. We've stopped providing it. Instead, what we're providing is an application now called IPLCheck AI. Because what we've done is said we're going to take that log that's produced by those checks, combine them, and automatically analyze them for you. Tell you what's in those logs, what's critical, what are things you need to look at on a regular basis as a result of those checks running every hour, once a day, whatever pattern you set up inside the health checker for those NEZ checks. And it will tell you what you have. You can see right up top, it says, I've got 10 notices and there's 52 informational messages. Those are messages about multiple extents and duplicates and stuff. It also tells me about dynamic changes, things that detected that are where additions or deletions have been made, in this case to APF. And this is an interactive screen. If I put my cursor under the particular field and hit enter, it will give me back the results. So it's telling me I've got 3 data sets or libraries that have been added to APF. Here they are. I don't have to dig through 15 or 20,000 line log to figure that out. It's going to tell me and make it obvious. I'm also going to look at the new enhancements through this facility. So that enhancement I talked about before about showing you what the default values are assumed to be based upon the default, it reports them to you as well here. And all of these are all hot to get you to different reports that come out of it. I can look for things in the network area and search the logs and look for those. I can search different members or user IDs, people that are making changes. So what we've really done is interpreted that log for you and given you this entry point so that it can do the inquiries for you. In some cases, it might take multiple steps to give you back the results. Based upon the results, it also adds this and it does things. So we can also turn this into a monitor. So it's going to run on an interval of daily, weekly, monthly, or all 3. It's going to send off reports and documents to whoever you select to be important and to get these things. So if it sees a report or a change, I want a document or every hour or every 8 hours or whatever pattern you want, the email would go off. We can also interact with ServiceNow, post something over to it or send an incident over there and have it dealt with. We also have the ability to FTP automatically the log to a different system. And you might want to ask, why would I want to do that? Well, the reason we want to do that is so that we can begin to combine the logs together and understand the relationships between the health checker running across multiple LPARs. So that if I'm running a Sysplex, as you saw, with 5 different LPARs, I can look at the logs produced on each one of them and look and see if any one is different or has a problem that the other one doesn't have. And this would all be part of the reporting and documentation. The full log will have come over by automatically FTPing it to this source. And so I'm sitting on a single LPAR and be able to see it. Now, I can obviously do that with shared DASD of a Sysplex like I am now, but think about that site that you have as your recovery center that are done in a different city or some other way that you want to transfer that log over. It can be automated for you as well. So I apologize for that little hiccup. I'm not sure what happened to my network, but we got through it all. And thank you all for listening, but I want to go back to my slides now if I can get there and talk a little bit more about just kind of wrapping this up. Hopefully I showed you a little bit about how we can help you get ready. You don't have to wait until you order 3.2 to use this. You can get image the ICE, the Integrity Controls Environment and Image Focus Release 19 now, and begin to run those simulations of what do you have to change in your current configurations to make it viable and executable at 3.2. You can do that, like I said, before you even order, and certainly before you install or put any 3.2 data sets down. So all of that is available to you with just Release 19. So those of you who are customers, you should have an email talking about the availability of Release 19. When you download it, begin to run the exercises of evaluating it. Use the logs to document, use the logs to inform you of concerns or risks, the things you don't want to move forward, and deal with them now. Now, those of you who may not know us, this is a copy of the announcement. If you haven't seen that already, it will come in the slide deck. But we also have a great deal of knowledge out on social media sites. And there's different topics out there. Go search New Era software, find them, click on them, and you get a better description perhaps, or more visual description of what we're able to do. There's a call to action there if you want to schedule another follow-on webcast with us to get in more detail about what we do and how we do it. It's there. And again, if you're customers and you want a full walkthrough of what our enhancements are, let us know. If you're not a customer, we'd like you to be, so contact us, and we'll be glad to do a regular demonstration and an explanation of all the capabilities. Because trust me, there's a great deal more things that we can do and provide in our products that I haven't had time to show you here. But I'm at my 45-minute limit, and I don't want Sammy to yell at me, so I'm going to thank you all and open it up to any questions. Sammy, do you see any questions in the Q&A box?
I do not right now. We can give it a minute here, but it looks like there are no questions at the moment. If any of you out there do have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A and we will be happy to answer it here. If you don't want to post to Q&A and do have some questions you don't want to do during the presentation, you will be receiving a follow-up email from us, so feel free to either contact us directly or reply to that email.
All right, and my email was on those slides. If you want to write to me directly, you can, or always just send to support at New Era Software or to Sammy directly, and we'll get an answer out to you if you do have a question you think of later. So thank you again, Sammy. It's all yours. Wrap it up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Glenn. It was a fantastic presentation. We're so grateful for the time and the insight that you had to share with us today. Before we go, just a couple quick reminders. Today's webinar will be up on our YouTube channel very soon. So if you'd like to revisit it or share it with your team, you'll have that chance. You will also, as I mentioned, receive a follow-up email in your inbox with a link to the presentation. We'd also love your feedback. Your input helps shape the future of these sessions. And for anyone who wants to go deeper, we're now scheduling one-on-one client briefings. That's a chance to see our solutions up close and tailored to your environment. And yes, you can even test the products free of charge in your own ZOS environment. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Instagram. That's where you'll get first access to all of our new releases, upcoming webinars, and any breakthroughs that are setting the pace. Thanks again for joining us and have a wonderful day.